Hey folks, this is Matt Rainwater, and today we're going to be reading episode 57. Every episode now I'm like, what episode are we reading? Yeah, it's 57. Who knows what I said last time? I might have said 56. I might have not. I'm having a hard time keeping count sometimes. But nevertheless, we move on, right? Um, so, picking up from where we last left off in Trailer Park Warlock, Revanstone has got Darla pinned down, and it's looking pretty bad for the home team. But let's see what happens next. Whoosh. Foom. Leah. Bearing magic of the heathen day, corruption of the transfigured. For these transpasses I give you to the darkness. Never wake from this dream again. Trailer Park Warlock, the golden bits. Thoom. Fall now to true sleep. And there's nothing there. Wretched nuisance. So basically, Darla just transformed back into her human self and got loose pretty easily. But we also see Pointu in his lowest will form now. Run while you can, Daywalker. Crump. And that is my sound effect for pulling a sword out of the dirt. Crump. Crack. Foom. Pointu. Something has happened to your lowest will. You have not been corrupted by... Have you not been corrupted by daylight? I actually really like the way this design worked out. It's actually kind of cool. Kind of gnarly. Kind of gnarly, dude. I shall see that you suffer I shall see that you suffer this sickness no longer, betrayer. Let me show you the mercy of the killing blow. What's with the golden bits, Henry? Jack has contracted Midas. You must die! Boom. So you think that's what's her name, then? Revanstone? Clear, certainly. God, just look at her. She's total bullocks with that sword. You made a pledge to the abyss. You made a pledge to me. Your fortune, your power, all that made your life on this land possible, you owe to our covenant. And you broke it for what? Cheap labor? A change of heart? Fool. Ah. Change. So this Midas stuff spreads, yeah? Rapidly. Flood. That was actually... So this... Because I was trying to figure out, like, what is the sound of someone talking while someone else is holding their tongue and their tongue is turning to gold? That's my thesis, y'all. Traitor! And so they're basically, like, locked here and struggle. You must die! Crack, crick. Die. Die. Roar. So they're just frozen in gold. Come on, I want a closer look. Just don't touch anything golden. Right. Cheers. Good evening. I believe your friend is just due east of here if you wish to see him. Who the hell is that again? One of Baker's friends. Dora? Dharma? Her name escapes me, quite honestly. That's one of my favorite parts in this episode. Shame we can't take all this gold with us. It will remain a danger to touch for years. I remember reading about Midas during my time in the Arcanomancer covens. Dreadful stuff. Ruined many an ancient academy at their pinnacle. It's the whole reason we ended up with all this night walker and day walker nonsense. Although, many of the royal alchemists thought Midas was a confirmation of some deeper spiritual awakening. Not bloody likely looking at this mess, Henry. I'm compelled to agree, dear. And then something's happening. This is a very short episode, by the way. I'm kind of surprised by how short this one was. I feel like the last one was longer. Anyway, Henry drops a little lore, right? I would say you could connect this to later stuff talked about in season 3. I'm thinking about connecting it a little bit further in season 4. I'm not entirely sure at this moment how it's going to get laid down. But basically, I mean, in this panel, he's talking about. Um, so this whole gold disease thing, Midas, was caused by intermixing of different magics, and that's what started these different schools of thought of basically Daywalker and Nightwalker magic. Is basically what he's saying right there. Anyway, just a little clarification of that lore. And like I said, I kind of want to get deeper into that at some point or another. May or may not, honestly, because it's kind of only useful for this episode and useful for, useful for what comes afterward, too. As we see what happens with Pointu, because we ain't over yet, right? It ain't done. I liked a lot of this part here, this conflict between Pointu and Revanstone. It's very dramatic, but also kind of silly with like the way that Revanstone is talking. And it kind of, I don't know, for me, the way that I was thinking about it is Pointu is basically taken down the one thing Revanstone really had over him, which was sort of the way she manipulated people through her use of the faith, basically the Abyssian faith, her manipulativeness and all that stuff. For him, it's sort of like an insult, like an added insult to injury, because he's done with it, right? He's over it. He's finally just like, okay, I'm just gonna take both of us out of the picture. And like I said earlier, I really kind of like the way this design for Pointu's like messed up lowest will form looks. I find this panel I like, and both feels a little bit awkward just because of the way her butt looks. And it's one of those things where it's like, when you think about it, try not to think too hard about it, because it's basically like ethereal energy stuff turning to gold. Who knows how that works? That's my thesis about how that works. How you see in this, how you see it portrayed in this episode. That's the thing about magic. Like, I like doing stuff with magic. I like thinking out the systems. Part of it too is like a lot of it is related to real world lore, and also to like ideas in the occult and stuff like that. That's where I'm trying to ground it. Nevertheless, there are points in the story where I kind of go outside of that, because there's a space to have a little bit of fun. And like I said earlier, this is one of my favorite panels. This is another one of my favorite scenes too, because we get to see more of just like Henry and Leah interacting. I really liked them as characters and just didn't get to spend that much time with them, and felt like they needed to be fleshed out a little bit more, because otherwise they kind of just come off as too much of the background, when in reality, like, they're a pretty major part of this whole thing. As we'll find out later on too, because this isn't the only scene we get to see them. But one of the things I did want to go over is just flesh out more of like how Henry and Leah interact with each other, because on a level they're companions, like lifelong companions. But we don't really get to. In the past, we just really haven't seen much of what that looks like with them together. And so I was like, okay, let's take this opportunity right here, because I'm sure both of them are sort of overjoyed, basically, to see both Pointu and Ravenstone just walked up, basically. Anyway, that's all my thoughts for this episode. If y'all are enjoying this, please be sure to give this episode a like, and you can subscribe to the channel to see more. Also, if you want to talk to me, feel free to leave a comment on this video, but also on Twitter, it's at MattJRainwater. On Instagram, it's at MatthewRainwater. And on Patreon, it's patreon.com/MattJRainwater. We will talk again soon. And until then, I hope you're all having a good day. And talk to y'all later. All right? Bye.